Good morning, race fans, and welcome back to the Metro Ford Cup Series here at the Old Bastards Racing League. Today, we're at the virtual Martinsville Speedway, the world-famous half mile, and we are in the final round of chase playoffs before we whittle it down to 4 competitors who will be in the championship round next week at Phoenix Raceway. As always, on behalf of Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, my name is James East, bringing the action 1080p, 60 frames a second, as we send our drivers out for single-car qualifying. And it's going to be a good one here today. 300 laps around the paperclip circuit here at Martinsville. Thompson comes out early, puts it on top of pole with a 19.74, just ahead of his teammate Dwayne Macarthur, who clicked off a 19.76. As right now we're watching Titanium Everhart, the number 17 Chevrolet, go out on track. Now again, we have that chase playoffs we're involved in, and we also have the manufacturer's points. After Kansas, it's Toyota out front with 13.27 points. Chevrolet in second with 13.02. And then Ford rounding out the rear with 11.65. And speaking of Ford, thank you so much to our title sponsor, emetroford.com, coming on board, supporting the season, making sure all of our drivers are taken care of on and off the track. So if you're looking for a new or used vehicle, check them out, emetroford.com. They will get you financed and have some of the best selection of inventory across the country. Good friends, great customer service, and even pretty good racers too. We've got about 11 drivers that have clicked off qualifying times so far this morning. Scales out on track, I believe still turning laps, trying to get a little bit more seat time, even though he's already completed his 2-timed laps of the day in the number 8 Chevrolet. His fastest was a 20.66, which is good enough for 11th here today. But he's going to go out, use that seat time to his advantage. They have a 10-minute single-car qualifying out here. We've got Al Turner making his way out in the number 76 machine. Now, talking to the drivers this morning before the broadcast, they're saying they can go about 145 to 150 laps on fuel, and they're very, very happy with how the track is driving today. They're saying the inside line or the outside line relatively quick, so it's going to be good multi-line racing here on the short track. The tire wear not as bad as places we've seen, such as Atlanta or at Texas. It's going to be interesting to see who decides to value track position more than fresh tires on these pit stops. There's only 3 spots left in the championship chase round, so 3 spots left to grab. Josh Robinson, the pilot of the number 23 machine, he is already locked in. The number 67 machine of Steve Thompson and the number 18 of Milligan are in a must-win situation here at Martinsville to make it in. And then the number 11 of, I believe that's going to be Tom Ogle, and the 97 of Dwayne Macarthur will have to keep ahead of the number 54, Andrew Hess, to stay in the points here today. So it's going to be really exciting to see what's going to happen as we wait for Milligan to go out on track. 13 drivers have put down qualifying times. If you're new here spectating the Metro Ford Cup Series, you'll see a few drivers not qualifying. That'll be our triple-digit drivers. That's going to be Michael Watts. That's going to be Clint Rice, Joey Buscemi, and I believe that'll be it for our triple-digit drivers. So either new drivers showing up here to the Metro Ford Cup Series and working their way up to the big leagues with the double-digit numbers, or in some of their cases, long-time returning members having to go through the process once more. You got Dwayne Macarthur, the fast Canadian, hanging out in the chat, waiting for the race to start here today. As we're seeing what Milligan can do on his opening lap in the number 18 machine. Looks like he's running a new paint scheme here today, maybe a Halloween theme. As Milligan comes out in style and puts it on top of pole with a 19.73, edging out Steve Thompson. Now Milligan and Thompson are both drivers who are in a must-win situation to make it to the main event. So it's going to be interesting to see how the aggressiveness comes into play for these drivers. As Milligan's last time by 19.83, so not as quick as his 19.73, but no worries, as now he's sitting on top of pole. Dale Copeland making his way out on track in the number 55 machine. We still have Andrew Hess, Josh Robinson, Dean Gear, Eric Whiting, Gary Kipper, Joe Brown, Roger Runyon, Tom Ogle, and John Hastings, who have not put down times yet in the double-digit camp. Got to keep an eye on those Team Miata drivers, as they normally wait until the very last bit of qualifying to squeeze out a little bit more time if possible. Copeland, let's see what he does on his second time lap here today in the 55. And Copeland will qualify 5th in the number 55 machine with a 19.82, but now the Team Miata drivers are making their way out on track. Andrew Hess in the 54 machine. Joe Brown also out on track. We've got Jeremy Barber tuning here today, cheering on his favorite drivers. Always great seeing him every Sunday morning. And now Tom Ogle also makes his way out on track in the number 11 machine. Hess with a 20.22, good enough for 13 on his opening lap. Let's see if he improves on that on the second time lap and improves from 13. He does slightly, moving up to a 19.87. Tom Ogle out on track. This is one of the drivers to watch. He's always kind of a wild card in qualifying. Things either go really well for Ogle or terrible, as he's also running a new paint scheme here today in the white clawback Toyota Camry. It's a Halloween white claw theme today. Ogle is switching up, very proud of his own paints. Ogle currently sitting 10th in qualifying after clicking off a 19.94. And that will be it for Ogle on the number 11 machine. Let's see if anybody else is out on track. Josh Robinson looks like he's about to go out, number 23 machine. Again, Robinson already locked into the championship round with his win in this series of chase events. Let's see, Robinson only has about a minute and a half left in qualifying, but these are about 20-second lap times for these drivers. Let's see when Robinson's going to opt to go out here. Maybe waiting for the track to try and cool down slightly, as yes, the number 23 machine is going to roll. And let's see what Robinson can do. He's going to try and bring home another win here at Martinsville. Again, he's already in the next round chase playoffs, but these guys come out every week and race several times a week for the fun of it, not necessarily to best or pad their stats at all. It's a lot of great camaraderie and a lot of great racing here at the Metro Ford Cup Series at the Old Bastards Racing League. These drivers run together 3, 4, if not 5 times a week between their nightly or bi-nightly practices. And then they have the ARCA Series they race, the Truck Series, the Xfinity, and the Premier Metro Ford Cup Series. Robinson on his outlap cuts off a 19.79. Robinson's going to have to settle for a 5th place qualifying run in the number 23 machine. And that will round out our qualifying session today here at Martinsville. This is going to be good. Short track racing, a lot on the line for our drivers. Everybody trying to make it into the next round. And then a lot of drivers just going to try and keep their nose clean out here today. Well, let's go ahead and run it through tonight's grid. Starting on pole, Patrick Milligan, the number 18 machine. Steve Thompson starting 2nd. Dwayne Macarthur, the fast Canadian, starting 3rd. Dakota Pischke starting 4th. Josh Robinson will be starting 5th on the grid. Dale Copeland starting 6th. Dean Gear starting 7th. Andrew Hess, and then the 54 starting 8th. Todd Bosworth starting 9th. Joe Brown starting 10th. Tom Ogle starting 11th. Mike Schrader starting 12th here today. Then you got Greg McDaniel starting 13th, Robert Gorisco starting 14th, Al Turner starting 15th, Brian Lindsay starting 16th, Brian Lynch starting 17th, Chris Sidner starting 18th, Michael Titanium Everhart starting 19th, Scales starting 20th, Rice starting 21st, Joey Buscemi starting 22nd in the 128, Michael Watt starting 23rd, John Hastings will be starting 24th on today's grid. And then to round it out, you've got Gary Kipper in the 68 starting 25th, Eric Whiting in the 13 starting 26th, and then Roger Runyon Sr. will round out our 27-car grid here today. as this is going to be all sorts of exciting. "300 laps around the half-mile track. We're looking about an hour and 40-minute race, barring any pit stops or on-track shenanigans. As we're going to roll them out, get this party started. Now let's see what's going to happen. Are we going to get the famous green flag runs that these guys have had in the past, or is it going to be a bloodbath early on here today? It's Milligan and Thompson on the front row, two drivers that have to win here to make it to the final round of the championship. As we get ready to send them out, this is going to be all sorts of exciting. Pace car comes in. We've got 25 drivers out on track. Scales and Hastings were DNSs. Not sure what they've got going on here. And here we go for the first time in Martinsville. The green flag flies. Patrick Milligan, Steve Thompson are going to go diving into turn one. Milligan holds on to the lead. Thompson's going to follow in tow. As Robinson and Dakota Pischke are going side by side. Robinson on the inside line of the number one. You've also got the number 92 of Dean Gear trying to squeeze through the inside, but on that inside line, it's very tough to get the power down and get the car going forward once more. The other hand, the outside line. Oh, we've got problems somewhere. I'm not sure if that was Scales that we saw hugging the inside line. Yes, it was. The number 8 machine is letting the field go by after a late rejoin onto the surface. Ogle picks up briefly a spot from Bosworth. And now he's going to try and link up with his teammate Andrew Hess in the 54 machine and start cutting through traffic here. Ooh, looked like that was Bosworth. Maybe went a little bit too deep than planned. And now he's going to have pressure from Schrader, who will dive up the inside line of the number 42, Todd Bosworth. Now it's a long format race, 300 laps, plenty of time to work on stuff. So these drivers got to remember, if you get a little bit flustered and make a couple mistakes that maybe get you offline, just keep your nose clean, start clicking off laps, and then you'll be able to get through this. Now Mike Schrader, the number 4 machine, put down the fastest lap of the race his last time by, a 20.24. It's going to be interesting to see how driver attrition plays a factor for these guys. Up front, it is still Milligan and Steve Thompson in running first and second. They've got about 4/10 over Dwayne Macarthur, the number 97 machine. So all three of these drivers in chase contention. Now your current race leader, Patrick Milligan, and second place Steve Thompson are both in must-win positions. So either one of those drivers, if they want to make it into the next round, have to win here at Martinsville. But the laps are quick and clicking off mighty quickly. Now I'm curious to see if they can make it a one-stop race. They said the fuel window is about 150 laps, but how are the tires going to be after 150 laps here at Martinsville? Now the last time we were at Martinsville was all the way back on April 11th, where we ran, again, 300 laps. It took 2 hours, and during that course of events, we had 5 different leaders, 10 lead changes, and we had 8 cautions early on in the season, and we may have one come out as it shows Roger Runyon involved in an incident. And yes, it is. You're watching Runyon in the number 71 machine. Let's see what happens here. Does he just light up the rear tires coming out? Yes, he does. Bounces it across the inside wall. And then waits for a clear opening to get back out on track, but well done, avoiding all the other drivers. That'll bring out the very first caution of the night. And again, talking about that earlier round, April 11th, we were at Martinsville. Steve Thompson brought home the win. He started second and finished first. Josh Robinson finished second, and Dakota Pischke, the number 1 machine, finished third at that event. So that'll be 3 drivers we need to keep an eye on throughout tonight's run. Thompson running currently second on track. Josh Robinson, who got second that last time by, he's 4th on track. And Dakota Pischke, are your previous 3rd place finisher. He is currently running 6th. As just about all of our drivers at Martinsville earlier in the season left with a little bit of damage, it was very rare to see many drivers finish without 0 incident points. Your highest finisher at that result was 7th place Dwayne Macarthur, who had a 0X. Then you have to go all the way back to, I believe it's 14th and 15th. Brian Lynch, Dode Hoskins also receiving 0Xs at Martinsville, and that is quite an accomplishment. As Scales will get his lucky dog and try and get back on the lead lap. I believe he will be back in the lead lap this time by. So that's going to be our first caution of the night. As we briefly go into eye-pacing conditions for our drivers. Looks like just Andrew Hess and Eric Whiting decided to come down pit road. Roger Runyon did not appear to pit either, despite having a slight amount of damage on the front of the number 71 Chevrolet after his contact with the wall. As we get ready to send him back out once more for the first restart of the night. As we get ready to send him out once more, it'll once again be Milligan and Thompson on the front row, 2 drivers that have to win this race. So they're not going to give each other a whole lot here as they go diving into turn 1. Milligan holds on to the lead. Thompson will drop still into second. And here comes Josh Robinson, number 23 machine, trying to make his way around Macarthur. Oh, they've got to be close here. Nobody wants to wad up any machinery early on. now. Robinson trying to make a move around the outside of Macarthur. He's also got Dale Copeland, number 55 machine, right in tow as well. Not a lot of give and take that these drivers can have here. This is the good thing about Martinsville. It can always get nice and exciting in an instant. As you're watching, Patrick Milligan still has the gap on second place. Steve Thompson, Dwayne Macarthur third. And then Robinson and Copeland doing whatever they can to get up some more positions here. Now Robinson and Copeland are both up one spot early on into tonight's race. Other notable battles is Greg McDaniel and Joe Brown. McDaniel's trying to sling around the outside line of Brown and number 21 machine. And Clint Rice in the 108, the triple-digit driver who did not qualify today here at Martinsville. He's going to go up the inside as well as McDaniel and try and pick up a spot while he's being chased by Michael Watts in the 199. So the triple-digit drivers are making some moves here. Ooh, Rice has the check up to avoid getting in the back of Joe Brown. Watts is going to go side by side with McDaniel and should pick up the position going into turn one, but it's such a careful game of not pushing too hard. Now Rice is up 7 spots and Watts is up 8 spots. Now we're going to pan the camera back to Joe Brown, who's working hard now on Brian Lindsay. Now Brown is down 3 spots from where he started. I'm not sure what early woes he may have had, but working his way back through the field. Great racing all across the track here at the Metro Ford Cup Series. Doesn't matter if you're battling for the podium or battling for a career best top 15. There's great action to be found all the way around. And a lot of like-minded guys coming out here each and every Sunday, having a lot of fun with their friends and putting on a great race all the way through. As Robinson, he is still about 3/10 back from Dwayne Macarthur and about 3/10 ahead of Dale Copeland. I'm wondering if this may be a fuel mileage race for the guys and taking it easy. Now, towards the closing laps, we're expecting everything to absolutely break loose for these guys and start seeing the fenders come into play. But right now, no really good reason at all to be over-aggressive on a 300-lap main event, because these guys have no fast repairs. If you're new to iRacing or maybe cheering on a friend who's very into iRacing out here racing today, there is something on the service called a fast repair, a get-out-of-jail-free card. So if you wad up your machine, you can come back down pit road, press the magical button, and it'll reset your car to factory-like new conditions. But that is not the case here at the Metro Ford Cup Series. If you crash your car during this long 300-lap short track event, you will be stuck in the pits fixing it the old-fashioned way with a bunch of hammers, duct tape, and maybe a little bit of Flex Seal. So that encourages the drivers here to be careful not to make any gutsy moves and not to risk anything. As we pan it back to Joe Brown, he's been kind of in the action in the middle of this, trying to get by Robert Crisco in the 28, and he's got Clint Rice right in tow as well. I believe your current hard charger on track, though, will be Gary Kipper in the number 68 machine. Kipper is up 10 spots from where he started here today. Not having the best of qualifying, starting 25th. Not even entirely sure he qualified. But using his years of experience to start charging through traffic in that 68 machine to get up 10 spots, currently running 15th on track. Andrew Hess, Todd Bosworth going side by side, narrowly avoiding the contact. Not a lot of room here in Martinsville. So it's a lot of give and take for these drivers. When are you going to make a move? When is it considered too risky? And most importantly, how do you guarantee you're going to make it to the end of this event here today, as no one wants to leave early with the car on the hauler? Taking it back up front, Dwayne Macarthur. He's right on the rear bumper of Steve Thompson. And he's got Josh Robinson right behind him as well. Again, Robinson, number 23, is locked into the final round of playoffs. But he's out here to race and race hard, representing both himself and his sponsors. So he's going to come out and see if he can upset some points in his Team Miata, number 23 Toyota Tundra. And he knows as much as he'd like to conserve a little bit of fuel, a little bit of tires, not a lot of time to do that when you've got fast guys such as Copeland, Pischke, Ogle, Turner, Gear, Schrader rounding out the top 10 here. Just not a lot of room to relax. You have a very brief straightaways. Even then, you're already on the gas very early trying to find the horsepower machines. And then you'll start lifting almost 3/4 of the way into the end of the straightaways to set up for the corners, especially as the cars start to tighten up. Now, right now, for the most part, most drivers are about 7/10 off their fastest lap times as tire wear and traffic is really becoming a factor. But Milligan out front having a great time, enjoying that clean air on the hood of that number 18 Ford Mustang, as he holds about a 3/4 gap over his friend Steve Thompson, running second on track. Milligan's last time by a 20.95, his fastest of the race a 20.29. So even with that clean air, you can see what Milligan's fighting with in that high horsepower number 18 Ford. And now Steve Thompson's going to close the gap ever so slightly, gaining about 2/10 that last time by. Chris Sidner, number 29 machine, he comes down pit road. Not sure if he had problems or what may have happened. Andrew Hess, another driver, having a rough go tonight. He's back 9 spots from where he started. As you can see, the back of that number 54 machine, that rear bumper looking a little bit crinkled. Let's see if we can get a camera angle on that and see just maybe what that rear bumper's looking like. Sure looks like he took a hard shove from behind, and it looks pretty concave back there. So Hess started off 8th, currently running 17th on track. One of those drivers that needs to do well here for the Chase playoffs. That's going to give drivers such as Macarthur a chance to breathe, knowing that the 54 is trying to point his way into the next round. Chris Sidner gets back out on track after a minute in his pit stall. Right ahead of Andrew Hess is Greg McDaniel, number 30 machine. Brian Lindsay, number 24, is close behind as well. We're going to check on Dakota Pischke in the number 1 machine. Currently 6th on track, down 2 spots from where he started. I almost wonder if that's from how tough it is to get any momentum going, especially on a restart. If you're on that high side line, or not quite sure what the preferred line is going to be for these drivers on a restart. But what can happen is whatever groove you start in, you can kind of get stuck in that groove as everybody else gets rolling, and then you're stuck all by your lonesome and can't really make up any positions. But Pischke is smart. He's got years of experience, and he's got a great history at the short tracks. So it'll be interesting to see if Dakota can hold on to it here today, as Tom Ogle and the number 11 machine is going to start pressuring the number 1 as well. Ogle is up 4 spots in that number 11 White Claw Toyota Camry. Now Pischke, the number 1 machine, he averages about a 10th place finish throughout the season. This will be his 28th start of the season. And he has turned 40, let's call it 4,500 laps here at the Metro Ford Cup Series. That is an absolute ton of laps to be rolling in one season. And he is one of those drivers still searching for his first win. And that's not going to be a good way to do it. The commentator's curse may strike again, as a lot of drivers are going to lock it up. As Dakota Pischke involved in an incident. Let's take a quick look, see what happened to Dakota. I think we missed the button there. There we go. So we're watching Dakota Pischke, the number 1, just saying all the good things about him. And I'm not sure if Ogle maybe gets into him and helps the number 1 machine around. Oh, yeah, Ogle just ever so slightly taps that quarter panel, and Dakota Pischke gets absolutely sent. Ogle's going to tag the outside wall ever so slightly, and the field will start locking up behind him as the number 92 machine also heavy on the brakes to avoid contact. That was Dean Gear doing a great job locking it up, and that's going to really hurt things for Dakota, who is having a pretty good night, all things considered, getting back up through traffic. That will be our second caution of the night. So Pischke heavily involved in that one. Ogle may have some damage. Dean Gear, Watts, McDaniel, Lindsey, Bosworth, Buscemi, Everhart, Runyon, Whiting, all locking up the brakes to avoid contact. As I show one more incident with Roger Runyon, I'm not quite sure what happened here. It showed him with an off track, but I'm not quite sure why it did that. Oh, Runyon just looped it by himself. Number 71 machine gave it too much throttle and sent it sliding onto the inside grass. These high horsepower machines are absolutely no joke. Also showed Scales with an incident. Not sure what's going on here. Let's see what happened to Scales. The live timing software showed as a crash, but I think it was Scales maybe realizing that the pace car needs to go back by. That will be our second caution of the night at the lap 50 mark. Everybody coming in, taking tires and a full tank of gas to extend that run, so now they can make it comfortably up to about lap 200. We'll get him gridded back up, pointing in the right direction. Pace car is in. Here we go. It's still Milligan and Thompson on the front row. Macarthur and Robinson, your second row. Copeland and Turner, your third row here. As the green flag flies, Milligan's going to get another good start, trying to keep Steve Thompson on the outside line, making that number 67 machine go the long way around here at Martinsville. And cautions, pre-cautions, every time the drivers come back out on track and get restacked up is when things can get all sorts of exciting. As now Macarthur, he's in a battle with Robinson. Robinson on the outside line. You've also got Copeland and Turner trying to charge up as well. As we're seeing here, a great example from Macarthur. Oh no, that's Turner, just parked it right in the middle. Oh, this is going to be heartbreaking. Oh my, several drivers getting collected in that one. And it shows Schrader, Turner, Runyon, Everhart, Pischke, Whiting. Watching Turner number 76 to see just what happens here. went in very, very deep, and I'm not sure if the 55 saw the 21, but that was just not a good position for anybody to be in. We're going to take a look at that just a little bit slower. So you're watching Turner in the 76 machine. Just ahead of him was the number 55 of, I believe, Copeland. And then the number 21 of Joe Brown also looking for a way through. So I think Copeland looked on his inside mirror and realized the number 21 was coming in deep and maybe went a little bit wider, and that's what collected Turner. Crisco narrowly gets through. Clint Rice barely gets through. Kipper may have touched a little bit as everybody trying to squeeze through where there's not really any place to go. Everhart, always the wise one, locks it up to avoid getting into Turner. My, oh my, what a night here. Now, we knew it was going to be more cautions than we've seen in the past with short track racing, but that was a good one. And when they crash, it quickly turns into a parking lot for all these drivers. That will be our third caution of the night. Now, I do have a friendly wager going on with the world-famous Dwayne Macarthur for tonight's event. We have a bet over-under on 4 cautions. Joey Bashimi shows involved in an incident. What happened to our good friend Joey in the 128? Probably just slowed down enough to trigger the crash software as he's letting drivers by. I believe that is the case. But I do have that side wager with Macarthur. Let's see if we get the over-under on 4 cautions here today. Once again, it's Milligan and Thompson on the front row. These guys still in that must-win condition here. Now Clint Rice, our current hard charger, the 108, he's up about 13 to 14 spots. I believe running 7th or 8th on track. As we get started once more, Milligan's going to lead the field, into turns 3 and 4 after a good restart. Thompson's going to slide in second. Macarthur and Robinson just can't get away from each other back here. As I heard bodywork being crunched somewhere on track, trying to look for it. Macarthur doing a good job. The top 3 have not changed at all here today, but Macarthur has a lot of pressure as he knows Josh Robinson, Dale Copeland, McDaniel, Brown, Rice, Crisco, Gear, all right behind them. All drivers that are very fast and looking for a career best finish today here at Martinsville. As let's see, Dale Copeland in the number 55 machine still trying to get around Robinson and keep Greg McDaniel in tow. Copeland running 5th on track in the 55. Now Copeland hasn't raced with us a ton so far this season. This will be his 5th start in the number 55. He's looking for both his first top 10 as well as a first top 5. And let me say, he's in company of a lot of very fast and talented guys. These top 4 drivers are no strangers to victory lane. Milligan, Thompson, Macarthur, Robinson, all having wins so far this season. All consistently inside the top 5, if not the top 10. Week in, week out, doesn't matter what track it is. We're going to check it a little bit further back in the field. Andrew Hess battling with Dean Gears, the number 92 machine, and just ahead of them, Crisco is going to get into somebody. He's going to stack up the field as Pischke checks up. That was, Crisco gets into the back of Clint Rice, I believe. Maybe different brake marks expected here, and great job to Pischke, Hess, Gear, Ogle. All checked up that run heavily to avoid according the field together. We're watching a lot of side-by-side action right around this top 10 spot. Tom Ogle trying to go the outside around line of Guarisco. Looks like he's going to make it stick, but we're going to have another caution punctuate the racing. It shows Dean Gear involved in that one. We'll take a quick look and see if our drivers come back down pit road. You're watching Gear, the number 92 machine. Tough one to call. I'm not sure if he came down on Lindsay or if Lindsay went up there. Try and get a different angle as they go diving into the corner. I think Lindsay may have got a little bit too much on the curbing and pushed that car wide. So a rough night for the Metro Ford Cup racers as we bring out the caution flag once more, our 4th caution of the night. Now, I would imagine with how relatively short it's been on this set of tires that most of the top 5 is going to value track position more than anything and stay out till late in the run. Because we've seen how tough it is for drivers to make their way through this pack. As I have officially won my bet with the world's fastest Canadian, Dwayne Macarthur, on over under 4 cautions. Shows as an incident, not sure what happened to him. Right around the number 29 Ford Mustang. Maybe had to slow to a stop enough to trigger the software. I guess that's what it must have been. So as we get ready to send them back out after our 4th caution of the night, it's still Milligan and Thompson on the front row. 2 competitors that just can't get away from each other. Dwayne Macarthur is going to watch in 3rd place and just try and keep that number 97 machine clean, knowing that the 2 drivers in front of him are having to battle for a must-win situation. I believe Macarthur can point his way in if he finishes in the top 3 here today ahead of Andrew Hess. As here we go, Milligan and Thompson once more on the front row. Robinson and Macarthur just in tow. Macarthur's going to try and hold that inside line against Robinson and maybe try and squeeze up the inside of his friend and teammate Steve Thompson. As Robinson gets a great drive down the backstretch, trying to run side by side with Macarthur. And another caution to punctuate the short run here. 5th caution of the day. Not quite sure where that one was. I wonder if it was Everhart who may have been involved in that. Check a look. We got replay of passing. Oh, as the field stacks up there. I wonder if that was enough to trigger the caution. That's oddly curious if that was the case. Now, if you're watching along at home, iRacing with a built-in caution software does a pretty good job of calling their cautions. If a car is crashed, spun, all around not pointing the right direction, it's pretty quick and good about throwing the yellow flag for our competitors out on track. That being said, every now and then the built-in software misses it every now and then. So the software will register a crash that real-life iRacing officials would not have yet thrown a caution for. And that may very well be the case here. This will be the 5th caution of the night. Milligan and Thompson getting all sorts of restart practice. I'm wondering if they're thinking they can make it till the end on fuel with how this run is going. Or lack of runs, I should say. Martinsville, always a tough course for these guys. Tough for anybody, really, as we saw just this past week. The truck drivers and Xfinity drivers having their own rough go of it. And again, all the way back April 11th, when the last time we were here at Martinsville for the Metro Ford Cup Series, we had 8 cautions for 40 laps. So we're not to the halfway mark tonight. So the guys are having a rough go, I think is the best way to put it. But the replay button is getting a lot of attention. Our fans at home are having a great time. And some of our racers are having a blast, and some not quite as much. Here we go once more. Thompson and Milligan out front. This time Robinson is the inside line against Macarthur. Let's see if Macarthur can make something happen or if he's going to get stuck on that high groove. And now here comes Thompson as well to challenge for the race lead. He's going to try and make an outside move on Milligan. Now, the last time these guys pitted was on lap 48. They haven't had a ton of green flag laps, and now Thompson will get a lap led here at Martinsville. But Milligan is going to immediately answer back to the inside line coming out of turns 2. Keep an eye on Robinson as well, as Macarthur has fallen all the way back to 6th, being off of his preferred line. So things shaking up mighty early on this restart. Milligan holds on to lead, and once more putting Thompson back into 2nd. Josh Robinson, number 23 machine, has worked his way up to 3rd. Copeland 4th, Brown in 5th. So starting to see some moves being made here. Brown still holding on to that top 5 spot. He's up 5 positions so far, the number 21 machine. And he's looking for an opening on Dale Copeland's number 55, hoping he pushes wide and doesn't run defensively into turns 1 or 3. And that may allow Brown to stick a nose in. But he's going to have company with Dwayne Macarthur, who's staying glued to that outside door, the number 21. And that will prevent Brown from getting big drives off the corner. But speaking of big drives, Brown absolutely sent it into turn 3, getting around Copeland. A very clean move late on the brakes. He saw an opportunity and he absolutely went for it. Opting to use up a little bit of that traction to try and get a spot, but Copeland's going to try and answer as well, as he's back by about a half car length going into, I think that's turn 3. What a wild night here in Martinsville. These guys are putting on a show from front to back. Tom Ogle, he's gained a spot on up into 5th. He's up 6 spots so far. Copeland trying to get back on that inside groove wherever he can. He's kind of sandwiched here behind Ogle and ahead of Macarthur, 2 very fast drivers. And you can see the damage on the back of that number 55 machine from some of the earlier bumping and grinding incidents. With the number 55 of Copeland's Chevrolet Camaro still fast out on track. Ogle takes over 5th place relatively squarely. Let's also check on Clint Rice, the 3-digit driver, unable to qualify due to not being able to earn his double-digit number yet. Hasn't met the minimum requirement of number of races. He's up 13 spots, 8 on track, and Tom Ogle still making moves, as he's going to show Brown how he likes to dive up the inside. Oh, Brown didn't realize he wasn't clear. Gives a love tap to the number 55 of Copeland. Copeland's going to answer, going back to the inside line. Now we've got some short track racing, and we're not even at the halfway mark. These guys are battling hard, and we've got a ton of laps left here at Martinsville. It's still Milligan out front, Thompson 2nd, Robinson 3rd. Ogle and Brown round out our top 5, and they are bumping and grinding and starting to use those bumpers a little bit more. I don't think anybody's told them we've got 200 and some odd laps left in this feature event. Next required estimated pit stops to be around lap 200 for these guys. They can go around 150 laps on a tank of gas, but I am almost certain we will have another caution before then. And here we go. Ooh, absolute carnage. Dale Copeland involved. We're going to get a quick look. We're going to take a longer look at that one, because that was a pretty spectacular crash. Watch Copeland, number 55 machine. He's right behind Brown in the 21, and Dwayne Macarthur, number 97, is following in tow here. And let's see what happens. I'd be surprised if Macarthur sends it up the inside. It's a little uncharacteristic. And no, Macarthur gets into the back of Copeland and sends Copeland spinning around. And let's see who else gets tagged here. That was McDaniel, Hess involved, Turner involved, as the rest of the field locks it up to avoid Arca breaking into everyone. Ooh, Buscemi nearly gets around as Copeland's trying to get straightened out. Now we've put up a poll for all of our fans at home as well. Let us know, will Milligan or Thompson be able to win their way into the final round for the championship? Or are we going to see someone else come here today and maybe upset things? Could be Josh Robinson goes for another win for bragging rights. It could be a dark horse such as Ogle, Brown, or possibly, I want to keep an eye on Rice in the 108 machine. The rookie 3-digit driver. I'm going to look at that last crash one more time because it's so much fun to watch. You're going to go on board with Macarthur. Just gives a hearty shove to the number 55 of Copeland. And we're going to pan the camera over to Copeland. And that is not a view you want to see, looking the wrong way at Martinsville as drivers make their way by. Not a lot of visibility in these cup cars out here. We got our good friend and professional race control provider Joseph Penn joining us in. He pointed out that Titanium Everhart really avoided the temptation of ARCA braking through that crash. If you're new here, ARCA braking is where you see a crash unfold. Instead of playing it safe, you say, you know what, I can squeeze that gap. And usually it's followed by hurt feelings, crash cars, and words from race control and admins alike. But the Old Bastards Racing League, in all their series, they have an IPL system. You can have a maximum of incident points per lap. They start recording that average after 4 races, so it's not too heavily skewed one way or the other. And if you are above that IPL limit, you will receive EOLs starting from grids and possible penalizations if you continue rough driving. So it encourages these guys, as well as the zero fast repair system, to drive safely and respectfully. The biggest thing they cover on the drivers meeting every week is how do you want to be driven? And the answer is, if I want to be driven, or if I want to race clean, I expect to be driven clean. So it's a big two-way street here, and it's a lot of fun and historically really good racing tonight. A little bit of a rough one, as that is our 6th caution of the night. Will we have 8 cautions to tie the earlier event at Martinsville we had way back in April? And here we go once more. Milligan and Thompson on the front row. Milligan has the inside line. All drivers opting to stay out here, not wanting to come in and give up that such valuable track position. And it's been a rough night for several drivers, but keep an eye on, here comes Josh Robinson, number 23 machine. He's to look to the inside line of Steve Thompson. Thompson's getting pushed wide, but Thompson may be able to carry some momentum. Now Robinson does have a teammate with Tom Ogle right behind him as well. 2 Team Miata drivers. They're going to go side by side here. And look at Thompson making some moves here, trying to huck around the outside line, makes it happen. He will take over the race lead from Milligan. I can't believe we're not even to the halfway mark here today, and these guys are driving the wheels off these cars. So it's still Thompson out front, about 4/10 ahead of Milligan. And Milligan's going to have all sorts of companies. He's got 2 teammates behind him, Ogle and Robinson. Track position so important here today. Ogle takes a peek to the inside of Milligan, thinks better of it. Ogle, who is up 8 spots in that number 11 Toyota Tundra, having a great race here as it seems to be the name of the game, is just keeping these cars clean. But with how aggressive, and not aggressive, probably not the best word, but for how hard these guys are racing out here, it is amazing. The crashes we've had haven't been worse, as Ogle's really looking for a way around Milligan here. Milligan holding on. He's still about 3/10 behind the race leader, Steve Thompson. And it's interesting to watch the two different line choices here. It seems Thompson leaves the inside line open and kind of swoops into turns 1 and 3, while Milligan is diamonding the corner and almost double apexing it, coming in tight, pushing out just a little bit before apexing once more and getting back on the gas. Always cool to see the different line choices, and that's a great angle that shows you the different lines these guys are taking. And it's not drastic differences. It's not drivers going from outside to inside, but in that one lane, that 10, 12 feet they're playing with, seeing the little variations that each guys are consistently doing, lap in and lap out. And I guess the good news is with the 300 lap main event, you get plenty of time to work on what corners you want to take. As here comes Ogle trying something gutsy as he looks to the outside line of Milligan. Is he going to have it here, or is Milligan going to hold on to that defensive line? Ogle trying to carry some speed, but pushes too far up the track. That will stall his run ever so slightly, and Milligan has a chance of a breath of fresh air as he keeps focusing on what's in front of him. Steve Thompson not worried about too much what's behind him, as that will not affect his race as much as his own mistakes. Interesting to see these guys are pushing hard, but still playing it safe. As we got Lynch tuning in tonight, cheering us on as well. Ryan, I think in the number 15 machine may be retired for the evening, involved in one of those incidents. Hopefully he can get back out on track after the repairs. Let's see other notable battles out on track. Clint Rice and Michael Everhart battling for that 6th place spot. Everhart, old Titanium, moving up 13 spots in the number 17 machine. He's worked his way all the way up to 6th, having a fantastic run here at Martinsville. He's about 3/4 back from Joe Brown, number 21 machine, but Titanium has kept the nose clean of the 17 machine so far this event, and that's really an accomplishment in itself. Clint Rice looking for a career best finish as well, currently 7th on track. He's up 14 spots in the 108. Again, this is the 3-car battle for the top 5. It's Joe Brown, Everhart, Rice all in the mix here. Really everybody inside this top 10 very packed together. Up front, it's still Steve Thompson able to hold on to it now after getting around Milligan. And maybe that clean air, we can see Steve put down some laps and not have to worry too much. Are we going to see Milligan challenge for the lead once more? Now Milligan, all these guys want to be in a pace where they can kind of take it easy, get through a fuel run. But with how talented this top of the field is, and especially with both Thompson and Milligan being in a must-win situation to make it to the next round, not a lot of time to take a break and relax the old fingers. And even on the straightaways, on longer tracks, you kind of stretch your fingers and, you know, get some blood flowing again. But you're white knuckling all the way around here at Martinsville, holding on to the horsepower, the low downforce. As just a couple of seconds separates the entirety of the top 10. We've got 13 drivers on the lead lap here still. Ooh, look at this. Crisco and McDaniel going side by side. Joey Buscemi in the 128, another triple-digit driver. He's in 10th. He's looking to get around some of the more experienced drivers here at the Metro Ford Cup Series. Now, as the field starts to dwindle, a lot of drivers with wadded up machinery have been sent back to the hauler early on. Copeland, Hess, Lindsay, Lynch, Whiting, Gear, Schrader, Kipper, Watts, all appear to be retired here today after their incidents. So a lot of drivers not having the luck they needed in this second to last round of the season. It's been a long, fun season calling the action for all the Metro Ford Cup Series events. As again today, we're at Martinsville. This is the final round before we whittle it down to the top 4 drivers for the Metro Ford Cup finale next week at the Legacy Phoenix Raceway. Legacy Phoenix, interesting. iRacing just pushed out a new update to Phoenix on the service, making it look a little bit cleaner, a little bit prettier, and a little bit more fun to drive. They did not put down, it appeared, the resin on the top line, so it still drives like the older track. It may be a little tiny bit bumpier, but not putting down the PJ1, the tire groove, whatever the flavor of the week is that they're calling it now, that gives some lanes a little bit more traction to encourage multi-line racing. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that one's going to go for all of our competitors. As you're still watching Milligan, who has pressure from Ogle here. I don't think Ogle's going to be in too much of a worry, because if he do have a restart, another caution, he will be on the inside line for that restart and sitting relatively good to maybe squeeze up the inside of some of these fast guys up front and picking up another spot. And we did get a pit lane report from the camp of Brian Lynch, the number 24 machine. He just got penaltied out here today, involved in too many incidents, and unfortunately had 2 pit road penalties that really cost him the number 24 machine. A shame that number 24 always looking clean out on track. A lot of fun watching him race around. That's kind of been the story for a lot of the guys here today, involved in incidents, and whether it be their fault or not, and then have to get retired a little bit early. As it looks like Ogle may have some company from Robinson as well. It'll be interesting if the 2 teammates battle at all. Now Robinson has already won his way into the final round. So he's not in too much pressure. We're going to have another caution punctuating things here today. It shows is Bosworth involved in that one. Well, let's take a look and see what happened. Bosworth in the 42 machine, excuse me. And was that netcode? Look at this very carefully, ladies and gentlemen. So netcode, if you're just tuning in, yes, look at this. So it's when the cars, I'm going to explain this a little bit, and then we're going to go to the replay. It is when two cars on the sim are registered as contact, but don't actually touch. So the sim will predict where you're going to be before it happens and make adjustments as need be, and that's how it decides if you're crashing or not. But watch this in super slow-mo. Macarthur coming up doesn't actually touch the number 42 machine and sends him careening around without any contact being made. I'm going to watch that one once more because that is probably some of the worst netcode I think I've seen. Plenty of room, plenty of room, plenty of room, no contact. Still no contact. Still no contact. And then away he goes. No, still going. We'll watch that one once more then. Called a little bit early. That angle might be a little bit more telling. Trying to find a good angle. Let's go on board with Macarthur maybe. Could have been contact there. That's a tough one to call. I'm glad I'm not race control. I just do the broadcasting up here. But that will be the second incident that Macarthur was involved in here today. A large portion of the field comes down pit road on lap 134. Pretty much the entirety of the field here. And that will be our 7th caution of the day, not to the halfway mark, so we're just about tied with that earlier round this season. What a rough go for the guys. It's still Thompson and Milligan on the front row. Those are two drivers that have to win here today to make it to the next round of playoffs. The final round of playoffs, I should say. Arguably the most important round. Pace car comes in. We're going to send him out once more. Let's see what happens on this restart. Because now all the drivers have brand new tires on there. So the cars will be a little bit loose and a little bit more exciting. Ogle, he's going to go side by side with his teammate Robinson. Milligan will once again have the race lead here, getting around Thompson. Ooh, two teammates have to be very careful here. The last thing you want to do is A, get yourself involved in a crash, B, ruin somebody else's night, but C is definitely you do not crash into a teammate. That's racing 101. So these guys will give themselves a whole lot of space here as Ogle is saying, I'm going to put the hammer down in that White Claw back number 11 Toyota Camry, and he's going to put the pressure on Steve Thompson. Expect to see both Thompson and Milligan go to the pit here because they are in that must-win situation. As if we have one more caution, we'll be tied for the number we had at Martinsville earlier this season. Now Ogle knows he has to stay above the number 54 of Andrew Hess if he has any chance of finishing and getting into the next round. Now Hess does appear to be off track, so he's looking good here as far as points goes for the final round of playoffs. But who's going to have the pace here as we get ready to touch on the halfway mark of tonight's main event? As everybody doing great. The triple-digit driver, Clint Rice in the 108, he's battling hard with Crisco in the 28, but he is currently up 15 spots here today. Not bad for a triple-digit driver who has been unable to qualify due to the rulings. Crisco will grab the spot back in his number 28 Ford Mustang, but they're going to go side by side once more. Crisco on the inside line. Rice on the outside line as the field stacks up behind Greg McDaniel's number 30 machine. I don't know if McDaniel knows what he's about to get signed up for, as Rice and Crisco are battling hard here. Putting on an absolute show for that 6th place spot. Rice will once again be back behind Crisco, not able to make that outside line work. Let's check back up front. Milligan now once again your race leader. Getting back around Steve Thompson. Still just so close out on track. It's Milligan, Thompson, Ogle, Robinson, McDaniel, your top 5 here today. All these guys have everything on the line at this point as we just now hit the halfway mark of today's event. But I think the most important storyline here is between Milligan and Thompson. Both drivers must absolutely win if they want any chances of keeping that championship dream alive. As Milligan's last time by at 20.96, his fastest of the lap, fastest lap of the race was a 22.9. We got more racing going on for, I believe that's 9th, just inside the top 10. Joey Buscemi gets around Joe Brown's number 21 machine. Just great racing all across the track. Again, the battle for the top 10 is wild. Everybody inside the top 10 except for Milligan and Thompson, who qualified 1st and 2nd. Everyone else has made up massive ground here today. Ogle's up 8 spots, McDaniel up 8 spots, Crisco up 8 spots, Rice up 14, Everhart up 11, Buscemi up 13. As Buscemi has disappeared. Has anyone seen Joey? Joey's gone. Buscemi with a massive disconnect. I believe he's lost connection to the iRacing server. Commentators curse hitting him hard here as he will fall back to 12th. Hopefully he can get back out on track and get relaunched going here, as he was looking great for possibly a career best finish and running very, very strong. That will allow Joe Brown to take over 9th, Dwayne Macarthur to take over 10th. Macarthur, one of those drivers, having a very rough go here today, involved in a couple of incidents. But I think a saving grace is he may be ahead of Hess. As we are still watching the top 3, Milligan, Thompson, Ogle, hot lap in here. Now with that lap 134 pit stop, I believe the drivers will not be able to make it till the end on fuel. We'll have to pit once more, but it's going to be close for the guys. Now with 3 spots left, I'm not quite sure how things are going to shake out. Milligan and Thompson are in must-win situations. I was told that the 11 and the number 97 of Tom Ogle and Dwayne Macarthur have to stay ahead of the number 54 just in case someone wins their way in. So if we finish this running order right now, I believe it would be Milligan, Ogle, and Macarthur that make their way into the main event, the season finale. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as this thing progresses. As it looks like Thompson getting a little bit more pressure from Ogle here in that battle for second. It's going to be interesting to see if and when we have another caution come out, or if we're going to make it to a green flag stop for the first time here today. Now, historically, this is a little bit rougher night than the guys have had in the past, but that's the joys of short track racing. Things get a little bit heated, driver attrition starts to become a factor, and then late in the run, late in the race, these guys have been racing for about an hour and 10 minutes on track so far. You can start to see guys making a little bit silly mistakes, maybe going a little bit deeper. That will allow a driver to maybe get a little bit more gutsy behind them, start pushing that inside line and working their way into a gap that doesn't quite fit a car. And then things will get extremely exciting with about 20 laps left to go here. As now it's still Milligan leading around Thompson by about a half second. Let's look for other notable battles. Everhart going to the outside line, of Joe Brown, trying to work his way around the number 21 machine. Everhart now running 9th out on track. He's up 10 spots in the number 17 machine. Everhart, one of the cleanest, nicest drivers you can have the luxury of talking to here at the Metro Ford Cup Series. Just a well-liked guy, a very clean racer. And he's out here each and every week giving it his all and just trying to get some career best finishes. It's been, for me as a broadcaster, it's been a lot of fun watching how much, I don't know, faster, smoother, more consistent. All these words probably apply to Everhart. It's been a lot of fun watching him race this season. Really, it's a lot of fun talking to all these drivers out on track. Just a well-liked group of guys out here. Despite what they may jokingly say about each other. As Macarthur's still rolling around in 10th place here, he's about 5/10 off of Everhart. We go a little bit further back up in the field, and Greg McDaniel and Robert Crisco having a battle. This will be the battle for 5th between McDaniel and Crisco. McDaniel in that white and black number 30, Crisco in the blue, white, and red number 28 Ford. As that gives you an idea of how stacked up things are inside the top 10. From your race leader, Patrick Milligan, to McDaniel in top 5 is less than a second separating these top 5, and less than 3 seconds total separating 1st through 10th late in the run. Clint Rice has made his way around, I believe, Crisco. No, he's made his way around Joe Brown, I believe. So you've got Rice currently 7th out on track. And he's going to try and get back around Crisco to take over 6th once more and maybe work his way inside for, I think, his first top 5 of the season. We'll take a quick look at that one. Yeah, this will be Rice's 6th start of the season. He's had 2 top 10s, a 9th at Charlotte, a 10th at Texas. So he's looking to improve on his standings and get inside the top 5 for the very first time here at Martinsville. Now Rice actually found the OBRL Metro Ford Cup Series after watching or racing in another league I broadcast with. I gotta say, that's a really cool thing about my broadcasting career, is seeing these drivers hop around different leagues and continue growing and racing different disciplines, different styles, and continue to get faster and more consistent as their career in sim racing continues. So Rice coming into his own here, up 14 spots late into the race. Past the halfway mark. I don't know if it's considered late in the race yet. Ogle right behind Steve Thompson. Now, I'm very curious to see when you're going to see Milligan and Thompson stop being so polite, knowing that they've got to make it to the next round of the championship. And you may see those front bumpers come into play. Now, all these guys are extremely clean racers, and that's really the name of the game here at the OBRL Metro Ford Cup Series. Steve Thompson, the pilot of the number 67 machine, he averages less than 2.6 incident points per race, so very, very clean. And he average finishes around 9th. This week is the 34th start of the season as we have another caution come out. It shows McDaniel, Garisco, Pischke, and Bosworth in that one. And let's run it over the incident replay and see where things went wrong for several drivers once more. You're watching McDaniel, number 30 machine. Ooh, he gets tagged by Crisco. Clint Rice gets his way through. Joe Brown gets around. Pischke goes through the grass. Did Pischke get disqualified? Oh my, they're dropping like flies. I think Pischke just got disqualified. Turner, McDaniel, and Pischke all appear to be not on track. We'll have to ask one of our racers and confirm that. We're going to try and get confirmation from some of the guys on pit road that may have been retired for the evening. But that looked like a whole lot of drivers getting removed from the race surface all at once, trying to avoid that incident. What a rough go for the guys here today at Martinsville. I believe that's going to have just about 10 drivers left on track, as this is quickly becoming a battle of attrition here today. So we did get confirmation from our racers, Brian Lindsay, Gary Kipper, Brian Lynch, all having hit the incident point limit and getting removed from the racing surface the hard way, unfortunately. So they will be done for the evening. It shows 9 drivers still on the lead lap. As now it is Milligan and Robinson on the front row. Robinson on the front row for the first time here tonight in a grueling endurance race here at Martinsville. Let's see what the number 23 machine, who is already in. Milligan on the inside line, Robinson on the high line. Now Robinson does not have to win tonight, but both Milligan and Thompson must absolutely win if they want to make it into the championship round. But I think Robinson is here to throw a wrench in everybody's plans. He's looking to keep his winning season going in the right direction as he is trying hard to work around Milligan on the outside line. It's Milligan and Robinson battle for the lead coming into the corner. I believe that's going to be turn 3. Yes, it is. Oh, they've got to be careful here. We've seen so many drivers get removed after hitting the incident limit. Milligan and Robinson almost get into each other. That's going to allow Robinson to take over the lead. Meanwhile, Steve, we might have another crash. Joe Brown shows involved in an incident. Josh Robinson clicks off the fastest lap of the race with a 19.86, and he will start this next restart on top with the fastest lap of the race, coming out with fresh tires as you watch Joe Brown try and get that number 21 point in the right direction. What happened to Joe? He's right behind Rice in the 108. Maybe checked up to avoid getting in. Oh, Rice has a bit of a wiggle, and look at that. Brown does the same thing. They're coming out with new tires. They get used to running 100 laps on a very tight setup with worn out tires. And next thing you know, the rear end will suddenly come alive on you. And as we saw in the case of Joe Brown, that rear end just lights up, sends you around. As we now have more cautions than we did at our earlier race in Martinsville way back in April. More on the line here today. I think drivers willing to push it a little bit more. What a night here at the Metro Ford Cup Series. I dare say probably the most amount of cautions we've had here yet in the season. But also one of the shortest and arguably one of the most difficult tracks we've had the pleasure of broadcasting as well. 9 drivers still on the lead lap. Robinson starting up front. He does not. He's already locked into the Chase Championship. He's good to go. But right behind him, Milligan and Thompson have to win this event to make it to the final round. So I'd say in the closing laps, you may see those bumpers come into play. We get them back, gridded up, double file. I think we still have about 13 drivers on track after the 27 that register for today's event. Absolute rough go for all parties involved. And as the pace car comes in, the green flag flies once more in Martinsville. It's Robinson and Milligan on that front row. Keep an eye out on Steve Thompson as well. He's going to try and shoot to the inside as quickly as he can to at least fend off the number 11 of Tom Ogle in that white clawback Toyota. Oh, somebody went wide. I believe that was Rice in the 108 machine. He's currently 6th on track. And look at the side-by-side battle shaping up. That is going to be Milligan and Ogle. Ogle's trying to take over second place here today. Oh, they're still side-by-side, door to door. Ogle, he's on the outside. You got Milligan on the inside line. Your race leader Robinson clips off another fastest lap of the race with the 19.72. Milligan's going to try and hold that inside line as he goes side by side with Ogle once more. Ogle may be able to carry a little bit more speed down the stretch, and that is going to allow Steve Thompson to try and catch up to this pack as well. But both Milligan and Thompson are in trouble here. No, Ogle goes around. Ogle goes around. He gets into Milligan. The caution will come out once more. What a wild day with 100 laps left to go. What a bloodbath of an event. Let's watch Ogle's incident once more from the slower motion replay. He's side by side with Milligan going into turns 3. Meanwhile, Thompson watching to see this battle unfold. I'm not sure if maybe they made a little bit of contact, and yes, just ever so slightly bumper to quarter panel, and that was enough to send Ogle careening around. Milligan sees it coming, but nowhere to go as Ogle hits the front right of the number 18 machine. Thompson and Macarthur, Rice, and the rest of the field gets through nice and clean. Wow, this has got to be the roughest night I think the guys have ever had during one of our broadcasts. So Josh Robinson, your race leader, he's going to stay out. Steve Thompson coming into pit road. Macarthur stays out. Rice stays out. Brown, Everhart, Briscoe staying out. Look at this. Clint Rice in the triple digit. The 108, the newer driver here at OBRL Metro Ford Cup Series, is up 18 positions from where he started. Now with this final pit stop out of Milligan, Thompson, and Ogle, they are in a good shape to make it all the way to the end on fuel, and they will have the freshest set of tires as well. I have never had such a wild night for these guys. as the pace car still flies. And we get ready to send him back out once more. Pace car dives in. We're getting ready to send him back out. It's Robinson and Macarthur on the front row. But keep an eye on Steve Thompson, Tom Ogle, Patrick Milligan. There's a lot of story to be told here. As Robinson gets a spectacular launch out of the number 23 machine, he will lead the field going into turn 1. Macarthur in tow. As Thompson dives up the inside line of the 108 machine. Now Thompson, he came in on lap 200. He will have some of the freshest tires out on track. Let's see if he can catch up to Macarthur and Robinson and maybe get that much needed win on tire strategy. Ogle, he's on the same strategy as well as Milligan. But I don't think there's going to be a lot of drivers leaving here today without some sort of torn up quarter panels. Thompson's launched his way back into second. Now he's going to try and catch up to Robinson, number 23 machine. Let's see how fast that new number 67 with tires is going to be here. Macarthur is about to get, ooh, yes, he gets passed by Ogle. Not sure if we saw a bumper come into play there or not. But Ogle also on that lap 200 tire strategies. They're both trying to catch up to Robinson, who's got a comfortable 1.1 second lead over the second and third place drivers. What a night. Ogle and Thompson both linked up together. Milligan, who came in on that same tire strategy, he's still 7th out on track. Not quite able to work his way forward just yet, but still plenty of laps to let make something happen before panic ensues. As Thompson, he's falling back from Robinson. Robinson has a 2.8 second lead here. And he's on about 20 lap older tires than both Thompson and Ogle. Not sure what the strategy is or why Robinson's putting down such fast laps. Maybe Thompson's trying to save some tires here and letting Robinson work him out. I'm a little confused what the strategy is. Maybe these guys know something I don't know. As Robinson's holding it down and putting down some fast laps, he's about 6 to 7 tenths faster than Thompson that last time by. And gaining ground rapidly. He is now 4 seconds ahead of Steve Thompson. I wonder if Thompson maybe has some damage on that number 67 machine. I am extremely perplexed on what is happening out on track. We've got about 30 minutes left of racing left for these guys. as Robinson's still gaining time here over Thompson and the rest of the field. He's now about 5.5 seconds ahead of Steve Thompson and Tom Ogle. I'm very confused what the strategy may be here. Is Thompson and Ogle maybe on a tire-saving plan to start putting down record-setting laps in the last 30, 25 laps or so? Or is Robinson doing the opposite? He could go out there and hot lap to his heart's content on his 20-lap older tires, but try and put enough big enough gap on the field now to avoid getting contested later on. We're going to take the camera back to Josh Robinson, who's comfortably out front on older sets of tires, no less. He came in 20 laps earlier than Steve Thompson and Tom Ogle, but not having any problems or worries here. He stretched the gap out to about almost 8 seconds over second place Steve Thompson. That is almost half a track. The lap times these guys are doing are about 20-second lap times. And Robinson's still extending the gap, now up to 8.2 seconds. I'm very intrigued by what we're seeing here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not quite sure what the move is by all the drivers, what the strategy is. As Robinson showing no signs of slowing down. We're keeping an eye on his lap times, and they are getting slightly slower. His last time by at 20.28 compared to Thompson Ogle, who clicked off about 20.5s. But if Thompson and Ogle are going to be able to win this on strategy, I wonder when they're going to pull the hammer and initiate their plan, because they do not want to wait too late. As we've got just 9 drivers left on the lead lap late into this run at Martinsville. And we've got about 13 drivers still running after it's been a night of carnage, collecting so many drivers. Some drivers involved in their own misfortune, and some drivers just having the worst kind of luck. Now the good news is, with how few and far between the field is at this point, we should be looking pretty good for some green flag runs. Now Milligan started off slow this run. He's worked his way back up into 4th ahead of Joe Brown's number 21 machine. Milligan and Thompson. Milligan number 18 on screen. Thompson second place, number 67. They came into tonight knowing they have to win the race to make it to the final round of playoffs, or the championship round, I should say, excuse me. But right now, Josh Robinson's out in front, and he's kind of throwing a wrench in everybody's plans. He's about 11 seconds ahead over second place Thompson as it stands. Thompson is cruising around with his teammate Tom Ogle. I believe Ogle and Macarthur should be able to point their way in here. As from my understanding, they had to finish ahead of Andrew Hess in the 54 machine to make it. As you're watching Steve Thompson and Tom Ogle make their way around. Thompson's last time by a 20.93, Ogle with a 28.6. So these guys are already 34 laps in on their set of tires. But I can't believe that Josh Robinson is putting down the times he is, still navigating traffic in the number 23 machine. His last time by a 20.58. So about a half second faster than Thompson and Ogle late in the run. 65 laps left to go. But Robinson came in a lap 181, so he is 50 laps on this set of tires so far, and still fast. Now we are told the track's not too harsh on tires compared to, you know, Atlanta or Kentucky. But I've got to wonder, how long can he go for before the tire wear becomes the biggest factor and those lap times start really falling off? As next time by, we're going to take you on board with a lap of Josh Robinson. So that is a lap with Josh Robinson, your current race leader. You can hear just how careful he is being on the throttle. Not wanting to step out too far, not light up those rear tires. And what I think most important for you to hear is the lack of tire chirping on the number 23 machine. Being very, very mindful of his tire wear, and he's been consistently about a half second faster than the rest of the field very late into his tire run. Over 60 laps on this set of tires out of Josh Robinson. And I'm wondering if he's going to lap the field here today. As here comes Josh Robinson. He's going to have a whole lot of traffic to play with shortly. I believe that's going to be Titanium Everhart, your 9th place runner in the number 17 machine, just ahead of your race leader. Now all the guys here do a fantastic job yielding the line when, if at all possible. But the problem that Robinson may be having here shortly is he's going to be catching up the traffic that is involved in their own championship battles as well, battling for position. Now he's 15 seconds ahead of Steve Thompson. It's only a 20-second lap here at Martinsville. Robinson finding all sorts of pace and not having any problems. And last time we were at Martinsville, Robinson did, as a reminder, get second place after qualifying on pole. He finished behind Steve Thompson. Thompson currently in second, is hoping that Robinson finds some misfortune so he can win his way into the final round of playoffs, or of the championship. As both at Martinsville last time by, both Thompson and Robinson did leave with over 4 incident points each. As here comes Robinson cutting through traffic, going to try and carefully get around Everhart. Everhart yields the inside line to the race leader, number 23 of Robinson. So now, for the first time here today, traffic instead of cautions will play a major role in tonight's race. Robinson has to be careful, both mindful of his own possible mistakes, but to not put that number 23 Toyota in any risky position. that can ruin his race. We've seen so many drivers getting collected here today. As ahead of him, there's a battle going on between Rice, and I believe that's going to be Scales trying to get a lap back. Rice will yield the inside line to number 23 machine. After on board with Robinson, and now Scales will get the position up. And Robinson was going to start to catch up to 7th place Carisco, number 28 Ford Mustang. Out of all the things I expected coming in today at Martinsville, did not expect so many cautions, did not expect so many of my good friends and drivers to be retired early in the event, and I did not expect a dark horse such as Robinson to start charging through the field here and possibly pick up another win, really upsetting the chase round for several drivers. Now, we've had voters from across the country telling us who they thought was going to win here today. We had 14% Milligan, 29% Thompson, and 57% someone else. Right now, that someone else is looking like Robinson, who even cutting through traffic has been about 0.3 faster than second and third place drivers throughout the run here. As we still have 13 drivers out on course, everybody chasing that career best finish or trying to squeeze themselves into the final round. As we're waiting to see what's going to happen to Robinson as he catches up to the back bumper of Robert Carisco, the number 28 machine. Carisco currently running 7th on track, just behind Joe Brown and Dwayne Macarthur. Now Robinson can see the entirety of the field just ahead of him, knowing he is slicing through traffic today here at Martinsville as we go on board with your race leader. This has got to be the most nerve-wracking part because he's behind guys that are running 5th, 6th, 7th and has to absolutely trust these drivers to not make any mistakes, any spins or incidents that could cost him his win here. I wish I could hear the communication amongst these drivers. Macarthur goes high, allowing Robinson by. Robinson still looking at that inside line against Carisco to try and catch and get past the current 6th place driver. I will absolutely lose my mind if Robinson is able to lap the field here today at Martinsville. I don't think we've seen that yet in any of the Metro Ford Cup Series rounds, at least since I've been covering their action here. As still 6 drivers on the lead lap. Robert Carisco, the number 28 machine, doing everything he can to hold on to that lead lap in case we do get a late caution to throw a major wrench in things. Right now it's Dwayne Macarthur in lucky dog condition if that caution does come out. Absolutely amazing how rough things have been for these drivers. As Carisco trying to do his absolute best to get around Joe Brown's number 21 Toyota to pick up that top 5 spot here today. I think your race leader Robinson's going to be happy following in tow. Now he has lost a little bit of time to Steve Thompson, as Thompson was about 0.2 faster his last time by, but I think Robinson's just kind of taking it easy here. He knows he has 40 laps left to go. Now, even with Thompson gaining 2/10 every lap late in the run, if he kept that up for the duration of the event, he would still not be able to catch up to Josh Robinson. So somehow Thompson's going to have to find about 4/10 of a lap here to catch up to the race leader Robinson, who's been extremely dominant on this long run, just a master of tire savings. And a major wrench thrown in the gears for the guys that had to win here tonight to make it into the last round. Thompson and Milligan are those two drivers. They gotta be feeling the heat here. Now Ogle and Macarthur had to finish above Hess in the 54 machine. Briscoe picks up the spot from Joe Brown. Robinson still trying to typically find a way through here. As Robinson has put a lap down on Joe Brown, so now only 5 drivers remaining on the lead lap in the closing 35 laps here at Martinsville for the Metro Ford Cup Series. So let's see, is Robinson be able to safely get around Robert Carisco now? And there's also a battle going on still between Tom Ogle and Steve Thompson, staying within a half second of each other for the duration of this run. Ogle cutting through traffic as well. Everybody being very careful here. That was number 71 of Roger Runyon, yielding the high line to all parties involved. Now Robinson has got by around Carisco nice and clean. 4 drivers on the lead lap. Thompson and Ogle have found a bunch of time here. They were almost about 4/10 faster than Robinson that last time by as Robinson cut through traffic, but still about 15.5 seconds back in these closing laps. I'm wondering if now Robinson will find more speed as he has, maybe not find more speed, but keep very consistent in these later stages of the race. Just an absolute animal when it comes to tire wear and tire management here today. On board with Robinson, who's been the surprise dark horse here today. Coming out of nowhere, it was late in the race before he got up front, and then once he did so in dominant style. Six laps left to go. It'll be 25 as Robinson crosses the line here. As we check out what's going on with Titanium Everhart, he's about 1.3 seconds back from Clint Rice, getting around, I believe that was Bosworth, number 42 machine. But was able to get back out on track. Now Bosworth is about 9 laps down from the leaders at this point, I do believe. But still out here having fun, racing hard. Then you've also got Steve Thompson, Tom Ogle there linked up here today. The number 67 of Ogle is running second on track. Ogle running third in the number 11 White Claw back Toyota. It is Toyota running 1, 2, 3 here late in the race at Martinsville. And then it is Ford running 4th and 5th with Milligan and Garisco piloting their Fords around. Your current fastest Chevy on track is the number 97 of Dwayne Macarthur. He's currently running 7th here today. Chris Sinner comes in for a late pit stop, trying to get things dialed back in. Maybe taking a final stop of the race with 23 laps left to go. I am not expecting to see a caution here. As our flagman watches on carefully, making sure nobody does something too wild or irresponsible late into the race. As you're watching Robinson cut through traffic once more, that's going to be Milligan just ahead of him in the number 18 machine. I cannot believe how consistent Robinson has been on this run. He's still running about the same pace as Thompson and Ogle, who came in much later, 20 laps later than the 23 for their final pit stop. At this point in the row, 19 laps left to go, I think Thompson and Ogle will start gaining micro amounts of ground on the number 23 as his tire wear will just have rapidly fallen off here. So I don't believe you're going to see Robinson go for the coveted lap the entire field trip trick. But he is in a position to put Milligan another lap down and only be the top 3 drivers that finish here today. Ooh, somebody tags the outside wall. Is that Garisco? Or is that, who was that? And uh-oh, things are going to get very wild here, ladies and gentlemen, as we have our final caution. It's Joe Brown involved in that one, almost pulls out in front of the leaders. Let's see what happened to Brown here. Tags the outside wall. Does Scales get into him? What happens here? No, spins it all on his own. This is about to get all sorts of exciting. So it's 4 drivers on the lead lap. It's going to be about 14 laps left to go to the restart. It's Robinson, Thompson, Ogle, and Milligan. Robinson immediately dives down pit road. He's going to take tires from the Mad Dash. Oh, this is about to get all sorts of wild here, ladies and gentlemen. So it's going to be a final 4, if maybe a 5-car shootout if Garisco can get on the lead lap and take tires. So Robinson, Thompson, Ogle, Milligan, Garisco will be our 5 drivers on the lead lap. Everybody's going to come in and take 4 fresh Goodyears, maybe a splash of gas. And then I am almost certain here, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to see one more caution because there's going to be no more time for friendliness out on track. It is going to be a mad dash to the finish line as there is so much on the line here. So we might have 8 drivers on the lead lap. I believe it's going to be Robinson, Thompson, Ogle, Milligan, Garisco, Macarthur, Everhart, and Rice on the lead lap. And what is very likely to be just an absolute bloodbath here to the finish line. And what has turned out to be a surprise endurance race for these drivers. They've been 2 hours out on track for this event. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see what happens as the pit stop shake down. It's going to be 5 drivers, I believe, in the lead lap. I don't think Rice, Macarthur, Everhart were able to get back around in time. Pace car will be in. This time by, it's Robinson and Thompson on the front row, Milligan and Ogle second row, Carisco on the third row. Now, both Robinson and Milligan have to win to advance to the next stage, but Robinson's going to try and upset that for the guys. It's 11 laps left to go on the restart. Everybody's coming out with fresh tires. The cars are a lot looser than they have been in the past as Robinson really stretched out that run. Steve Thompson, your race leader, looks like he pushes wide. Robinson tries to capitalize. It gets the drive out of the corner, but nowhere to go as they go diving into turn 1. Thompson holds on to it for another lap. We know Robinson has the long run speed. Does he have the short run speed here at Martinsville? As you can expect to see some bumpers come into play if there is a championship on the line here. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Thompson out front. Robinson sets another fastest lap of the race with a 19.69 here. How much pressure is Robinson going to put on Steve Thompson? Or is there maybe a little bit of talks amongst the teams to see who they can get into the final rounds? Because Robinson does have the luxury here. He can kind of choose his own ending, who he's going to race against, as he's already made his way into the final championship round with his win. If Thompson wins here today at Martinsville, he's guaranteed a spot into the playoffs. And I believe it'll be Ogle and Macarthur also making it in, if I understood the briefing correctly here today. 6 laps left to go. You're on board with Josh Robinson, who may have some of the most laps led here, but he's putting the pressure hard on Steve Thompson. Now, I don't think you'll see Robinson use that front bumper too much, as he's already secured his way into the championship round. But if the roles were reversed, if you had Thompson or Milligan right behind Robinson at this sort of distance, I would bet you a shiny dollar that they would be more than willing to use that bumper to help move somebody up the racetrack. Robinson has a bit of a shimmy coming out turn 4. That will allow Thompson to extend his gap to about 0.4 of a second here. 4 laps left to go. It's Thompson, Robinson, Milligan, Ogle, Carisco rounding out your top 5. Let's see, only 3 laps left to go. Thompson holding on to it with that 0.3 gap going into turns 1 and 2. But it looks like Robinson gains about a 1/10 there coming out, but Robinson seems to be having a rough go putting the tire down, or the power down with the tires in number 23. He showed his long run speed, but the short end speed, he seems to be trying to accelerate just a little prematurely. And that could be very much attributed to muscle memory after those long stints he did on that set of tires. 2 laps left to go. Thompson's looking in a fantastic spot here to work his way into the championship round. They're about 1.5 seconds ahead of Patrick Milligan, and the white flag will fly here in Martinsville. Robinson looks to the outside line. Thompson defends the inside. Let's see what happens for the 3 and 4 for the final time here tonight. They've got traffic ahead, but that should not affect the race leaders as they come down to the line. And the checkered flag will fly for Steve the Mule Thompson, winning here today at Martinsville, making his way into the final round. Josh Robinson second, Patrick Milligan third here today. What a wild night. Great racing from all of our competition, but Steve Thompson will bring home the coveted win here at Martinsville. We're going to line our guys up for the mandatory fun inspections of their cars, taking a picture for our fans at home. And always a great run from these competitors. Milligan and Robinson will get back to pit lane. And then Steve Thompson's going to burn it down in style here today. And Steve Thompson with a well-deserved win here today. Absolutely going to put on a smoke show for all of our friends here at Martinsville. Maybe reward himself with a gourmet hot dog following that great performance. As we're going to try and get our drivers up into the podium room to get them their spotlight that they deserve. For those that voted for Steve Thompson, 29% of our viewers, you are absolutely correct. You came home and you brought it home. Well done to all of our viewers as well. As it looks like Milligan has retired, has went back to his hauler. So we're going to get the rest of the lineup here. We're going to start with Josh Robinson, number 23 machine. Josh, great run. It looked like you were hands down the dominant long-run driver here today. Was that something you expected to happen, to be able to cut through the field like that, or did you have any expectations coming into what appeared to be a bloodbath at Martinsville?
I definitely felt better on a long run compared to a short run. Short runs are definitely grouped up, and it's not a lot of gap in the field here on a short run.
Now, earlier on the season we ran at Martinsville, all the way back in April, I believe we had 8 cautions. What do you think attributed tonight being a little bit rougher for drivers, race control, kind of everybody involved that saw it such a crash fest out there?
Season dwindling down, people trying to make it into that Final Four. It's just a recipe for a disaster with a short track.
Now, talking about the Final Four, Josh, you had already locked in your way into the final round. How much of a load off your shoulders was that coming here to Martinsville?
Huge. I knew I could just drive. It probably attributed pretty well to running well on that long run, because I didn't have to be worried about not making it in, and it was a nice feeling.
Well, Josh, you guys put on a great run, especially as the field dwindled and we started to get to see those green flag runs. I think at one point you were 18 seconds ahead of the pack, so extremely impressive. I think at one point there was only 3, maybe 4 drivers on the lead pack, so great job all the way around tonight. Before we let you sign off and go enjoy the rest of your weekend, who would you like to give a shout-out to out there that's listening along at home?
Just my teammates from Team Miata, and then, hey, if anyone joined the broadcast, thanks for watching.
Well, Josh, well said as always, man. Congratulations. Looking forward to seeing you compete in the championship round, and always appreciate your time.
Thanks, James. See you next week.
Thank you, sir. And up next, the man of the hour, Steve Thompson in the number 67 machine. Steve, it looked like it was a bit of a roller coaster of a night for both you and everybody involved, but from my understanding, I believe you have secured your spot into the Final Four. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the only way I could do it, was to win. I was so far out. I can't believe it. This is kind of how I planned to run my race, and I can't believe it. I owe it to my team, man. Dakota, he was spotting for me there at the end. He was out of the race, so he helped me big time.
Now, Steve, I mean, how much were you thanking the racing gods when we had that final late caution? Because at one point, I believe you guys were about 18 seconds or so behind, had gotten it back down to about 14 so seconds, but didn't look like there was going to be enough laps left for you and Ogle to kind of charge your way towards the front. So, I mean, what was your thoughts when you saw that final caution come out?
Um, I had a couple thoughts going in because I know Hess is out, so I knew if I had a clean race, maybe I could make it in on points. I wasn't sure, so I didn't want it. I didn't want to get in a wreck. But then, man, I got a heck of a start off that last caution and got to the outside of him. So I was kind of play stuff safe at the same time. So it was tough trying to keep my brain focused and calm.
Now we go to Phoenix next week. I believe last time we were there, I want to say it was Josh Robinson won all the way back March 14th. Is that a track you're fairly comfortable at, or what are you feeling going into Phoenix?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite tracks right there. Actually, the last race there, I was leading and got wrecked out. So I'm pretty confident at that track. I'll be practicing hard this week. I won the championship last year at that track, so I won the race by quite a bit. So,
And I guess
I'm
my final question for you, I mean, Martinsville was an absolute bloodbath. We had 3 or 4 more cautions than we did last time we were here, and I think that could be heavily attributed to everybody pushing so hard trying to get to the final round. Do you think Phoenix is going to be a little bit cleaner with a more open surface, or what are the expectations for you?
you never you never know. I figured this race would have been fairly clean because all the top guys were pretty much taking it. I mean, we were kind of taking it easy. Nobody really wanted to do anything dumb except maybe Ogle. And I shouldn't have said that. Sorry, Ogle, but I do mean it. And it just kind of worked out, but I surprised all the cautions.
Well, yeah, it was probably the most we've had. I mean, yeah, Final Four race. We're at Martinsville. It's just a recipe, as they say. That's short track racing, but you did a great job, right? Bringing home the number 67 machine, looking nice and clean, and a great run tonight, man. Like just last second securing your way into the championship. So very cool to watch. Steve, before I let you sign off and celebrate with the rest of the hooligans, who would you like to give a shout out to?
I want to thank my wife, Wendy Jordan, and my mom for all her support. And of course, my team, my sponsor, RideTV.com. I appreciate all the help they give. Of course, emetroford.com for sponsoring this series and helping the league. And Patrick Milligan himself, I hope he made the Final Four. We'll see here in a few minutes when I do the points. And I guess that's it. And thanks for doing such a great job too with your broadcast. I appreciate it.
Steve, my absolute pleasure. It's been a great season, both on the track and from the broadcast booth. I've really enjoyed it, and looking forward to next week where the championship will be decided.
That's awesome. I think we had to talk about putting a audio book together of um, Ogle's penalizations. Maybe we can make a lot of money.
Yeah, we try and drop a very subtle penalization joke in the middle of every broadcast, and we actually give out bonus points to the racers that message me and say, "Did you mean to see that?" So good to see who's actually paying attention out here, and hopefully I can help you guys out with that audiobook.
Thanks. We'll cut him out of the profits.
No
He
worries.
didn't copyright any of it.
Classic OBRL.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
And that, my friends, is going to do it here for the Metro Ford Cup Series, where it was quite the wild night. But Steve Thompson was able to put his number 67 machine into the final round of championships next week at Phoenix. Robinson finishing second and Milligan finishing third. Great racing all the way around. As always, on behalf of the Old Bastards Racing League, check them out, oldbastardsracing.com. The Metro Ford Cup Series always delivers the action, sponsored by eMetro Ford. And then on behalf of Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, thank you so all much for spending a Sunday afternoon with us, watching our favorite racers go fast and take chances. We'll see you next week for the championship round, the season finale at Phoenix. As always, thank you again. My name's James East. You guys have a great weekend. Have a good one, everyone.